Welcome to Kingsburg, California, a quiet town nestled in the heart of the Central Valley. At first glance, you might notice the Swedish flags waving in the breeze, the colorful architecture, or the cheerful sound of polka music playing through outdoor speakers. But this is more than just a quaint tourist stop on the highway. Kingsburg is a community deeply rooted in heritage, tradition, and resilience. It's a town that tells a story, one of cultural identity, migration, reinvention, and pride. Today, we explore that story through the eyes of those who've lived it. Kingsburg's identity is inseparable from its Swedish heritage. From store names to city planning, the influence of its early settlers is everywhere.
Our town has a natural theme because the Swedes came here and settled here, and so we feel it's important to keep the culture and the heritage alive, and so we have events that do that, and then having this store helps as well.
The Swedish festival, held every May, draws visitors from across the region. Families gather in the town square to enjoy folk dancing, Swedish meatballs, crafts, and live music.
The Swedish festival, of course, is my favorite, and we also celebrate Santa Lucia Day in December, and the band concerts in the park in the summer are a wonderful treat. It's just fun living here because it's such a charming town, and it's like a Hallmark movie at Christmas time.
But it's not just the big festivals. Smaller traditions reinforce the cultural heartbeat throughout the year.
Our town has a theme, and people are so happy to find a Swedish shop in this town. And I try to carry things in my store that people know about, especially the ones that grew up in Swedish homes. They're always looking for things that remind them of their grandmother's house and their parents' home and the traditions that they have. And then the people that didn't grow up in a Swedish home find it fascinating because Swedish products are really quality products. They're usually not cheap, but people absolutely love them.
Even the town's soundscape is infused with tradition. Kingsburg wasn't always a haven of culture and calm. Its earliest days were far rougher.
Our town has a colorful history. Before the Swedes came here, this was the roughest and toughest town between San Francisco and Los Angeles. It was a real Wild West, shoot-'em-up town, bullet holes in every building, 7 saloons, and 1 church. It was a hangout for the outlaws like Joaquin Murrieta, Evanston Sontag, and the Dalton brothers.
The town's origins traces back to 1872 when the Southern Pacific Railroad laid tracks through the area. First called Kings River Switch, it was later renamed Wheatville before finally becoming Kingsburg.
And when it came time to ship the wheat, the railroad would raise their rates. And it made the farmers mad. They were mad at the railroad anyway for taking their land, so they would feed and hide the train robbers.
But everything changed in the 1880s when Swedish immigrants arrived.
There was a group of Swedes that had settled in Ishpeming, Michigan. They had been recruited during the Civil War to come and work in a copper mine because the miners had to go to war. But eventually these Swedes got tired of the severe winters, so they sent a delegation up to the West Coast to look for a place with mild climate and good farmland where they could all come and settle. And this little group was led by a man named Andrew Erickson.
Andrew Erickson and his cousin, Judge Frank Rosendahl, played key roles in settling the town. Rosendahl helped shape the layout, bringing his experience as a landscape architect.
So the Swedes came. and cleaned up the town. And then right around 1900, the town was almost 100% Swedish. And then there were 7 churches and 1 saloon, and people called it the Holy City.
Although the Swedes dominate the narrative, Kingsburg has always been a mosaic of cultures.
The first group was the Yokuts. The Yokuts were Native Americans, obviously, and they eventually were displaced, as has happened all across the country. There also was an early population of Mexicans, primarily because they had come up from Mexico to explore the area and then were given land grants. Success of the Mexican population, once other groups started moving in, was very minimal.
In the early 20th century, Japanese families began settling in the area, drawn by opportunities in agriculture.
Strangely enough, people don't think of Kingsburg as having a Japanese influence, but before World War II, the Japanese population was quite high. And in fact, if you look at the pictures from Kingsburg High School's graduating classes, in 1941-42, they were almost 20% of the kids in the high school, which is pretty strange when you think about it, because this is a Swedish town and 20% of those kids are Japanese Americans.
But during World War II, everything changed.
The orders came down that the Japanese had to be removed from the West Coast. So in 1943, if you look at the high school pictures, every single one of those Japanese Americans is gone. Most of them from around here went to Gila River internment camp in Arizona. People don't realize that because after the World War II, they were virtually all gone, and some came back later, and many did not.
The Armenians also made their mark, especially in farming.
About the same time as the Japanese were coming to the valley, we had the Armenians who were fleeing, in many cases, the genocide of Armenians in Turkey. They saw that the farms here were rich, able to produce lots of product. The Armenian population is still very strong in this area. Many of the farms, packing sheds, et cetera, are Armenian owned.
Other groups followed: Portuguese, Italians, and more, adding depth to Kingsburg's agricultural economy and cultural landscape. In 1988, Kingsburg's commitment to heritage took a major step forward with New Sweden 88, commemorating the 350th anniversary of the first Swedish colony in America.
The Swedish flags went up, and we had coat of arms on the buildings for the different provinces in Sweden. We began playing Swedish music on the street, and we've done that ever since.
The town didn't just adopt the Swedish theme for show. It became a part of its economic and civic identity. Generations of families keep the traditions alive. And those stories of resilience, faith, and identity are told every day through the buildings, the events, and the people who call Kingsburg home.
My grandchildren are a big part of this business. Anastasia comes and helps in the store, and Annika does, and then my sons and daughters also, when they get a chance, can help as well.
Kingsburg may look like a postcard, but behind the storefronts and festivals is a living history, one built by immigrants, farmers, families, and dreamers. It's a town that went from outlaws to organ music, from chaos to culture, all while holding on to the very thing that makes it special: identity. This is Kingsburg, a Swedish town in the heart of California, and it's a story to live on for generations to come.